Hello, everyone. We've had amazing 18 sessions over the 2 days, and our final keynote address for today is by Deepak Choudhary, founder and managing director of Event FAQs Media. We also have Erwin Sabhane, the CEO and mastermind behind Espousal, who will be joining him. Thank you, and over to you, Erwin.
Choudhary, DC, as he is known as to all his friends and the fraternity in the event industry, has had an absolutely fantastic journey. He started off way back 15, 17 years ago, done a lot of work in the event education space, and that's where we met. And then afterwards, set up various companies, which I'm going to ask him to tell us about. But Deepak Choudhary is here, and we're really honored to have you with us, Deepak, to be a part of a keynote address at Espousal. Over to you. Tell us a little bit about your journey. We want to hear this first.
Hey, Erwin, thank you. I think to get me here, I'm seeing Espousal grow, and it's reaching from India to internationally. I think it's looking big, and and this space needed something like this. So kudos to the team at Espousal. As you know, we've spent a lot of time together in life, and we build the education business together. And from there, there are two parts of journey I operate in. One is IP as a business. I understand IP earlier in India, and now spend a lot more time in Dubai as a company called Experience, which so we've launched Dubai's first festival and IP business company. Okay, so we are based in Dubai, but looking at Middle East and North America, Northeast market, and so on. Largely, creating festivals, creating concerts, and that's the business we are in. But more than that, I think more relevant to this platform is a little of my background on what I do in the media space for events and wedding category. So where some years back, 2007, 2008, we started EVENTFAQS, which is the voice of event industry. Okay, and that journey has taken to get people together from the event mice wedding industry together across the country and across the world. Now, in this journey, we also recently launched something called WedFAQs, which is a platform you can go for to know anything and everything about wedding as a business. A lot more what's happening in the wedding space. You can have a look. We're doing WOW Awards on the 19th and 20th of August. That's our largest property, and it is we give awards to a lot of wedding category and so on and so forth. So in this whole journey, I think let's see what Espousal brings on, and I think looking forward to more partnerships together.
Superb, Deepak, superb. Tell me in one word, how many event IPs have you been directly a part of?
So I see the IPs I'll divide into two parts, B2B and B2C. Okay, currently at Experience, and earlier my journey at Event Capital, both this was B2C, and EVENTFAQs is B2B. Okay, so in a B2C format of IPs, we created something in Bollywood's largest concert called Bollywood Music Project, influencer festival called Social Nation, a kids festival called Windmill, and a lot of other festivals. Now, all these B2C festivals, I've created 20 festivals myself, and this was events through the year. These 20 festivals to put together was taking around 50 to 60 days of event days in a year, which used to be the scale. And I'm trying to do same in the UAE market now. And B2B is another space where EVENTFAQs alone is doing around 20 IPs.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where the piece is.
Wow. So here we have Deepak Choudhary, ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's listening in, absolutely fantastic. A man who builds IPs for a living, has of course done a lot of work in the education space and continues to do so. Telling us more about event IPs and your experience in the same, Deepak.
See, I'll tell you it's different to different audiences. It's different to different promoters. IPs has been sometimes we think IP is an idea. It's actually beyond that. Okay, IP is not an idea. IP is an idea you spend your life on. Okay, and that's where it becomes an IP. Yeah, so sometimes we miss that. I think a lot of people come to me, this is my idea and I want you to put money. I always tell them where you've spent only 1 month on this idea. and actually what is the background, how much time you've spent, how much time you spend in that category. It was not difficult for me to start a Wow Awards, because I had been connected with that category for very long. It was not so, and where we were not, we got partners. Let's say a Bollywood music project, Tarsim Mittal, who manages Arijit Singh, Rekha Ji, Sunidhi, Amit Trivedi, Vishal Shekhar, Vishal Bhardwaj. It was easy for him to put together. So that's where we need to see IP becomes an IP when everybody knows it. Okay, a Sunburn or a Supersonic or a festivals which are Tomorrowland. These are festivals and IPs which everybody knows them. Yeah. So what two parts when spend enough time on it, and depends on who's doing it, is what an IP is.
Right. Just last night I was at a KEMA, the Karnataka Event Management Association.
Right. I saw that and it looked fantastic.
It was big, very large. And since Brian was there, a lot of people were asking him the question about the buying, selling of companies and IPs and stuff like that. How simple is this? Is it easy that event, we are talking from an event person's perspective. You set up an IP, how long do you think does it take till you're able to get investors or a clean buyout, and how easy is that?
No, so a lot of I'll put it this way: it's a wrong notion to get into the IP business to assume that it is going to make immediate profits. It's a wrong notion to create that it becomes valuation business. It's a wrong notion to create that I want to exit. All three are wrong notion. Okay, what is right is build a business for profit. Okay, if your IP makes profit, then it's an IP. If your IP makes scale, it's an IP. Or valuation is a simple formula of profitability. Okay, a lot of people think burning money in the IP business makes money. A lot of people think that. I just want to get the notion out.
Right. Absolutely fantastic. So any piece of advice to event managers who are going to set up IPs? Because a lot of people are talking about this and they think it's a simple way out. I myself have set up 6 IPs and I know how impossible this whole story is, and difficult, not impossible, and takes a lot of what I would call bulldog tenacity to be at it all the time. So a piece of advice to these guys: should they go for it? What are the things they need to be able to go set up an IP and make it successful?
So starting point, okay, what an IP takes, what it takes to build an IP. Okay, let's start with that. I think as an event company, sometimes, or rather a lot of time, your operational skills are very good. Your creative skills are very good. Okay. Now, keeping these two things in mind, you should see what kind of category of clients you know. Okay. So I think an event company, I'm going to start with this, should start with branded IPs and not an IP business directly. Yeah. So when you have a client and you know one brand can come along. Okay. So start with branded IP, start with branded content, and then move to a IP business a lot more strong. Okay. So de-risk your proposition by getting a brand on board. First part. Second part, if you still are aggressive with an idea where you're not getting a brand and you've got an investment or an investor or yourself money is to put in, then see 3 things. One, it should be for a idea should be so build communities. What we use the word, if a lot of time people think IP is just that one event. No, it's not that one event. Okay. Roshan Abbas, you're going to hear him as ESPOUSAL also. But what I see as Spoken, a festival created by him, has a community behind it. It's called Community, Community with K. And he's built that community for many years. And coming from a background, that understanding of poetry, storytelling, it was not challenging to add on that to make an IP. Now, so keeping that in mind, where he was an event manager, okay, got into content business understanding and finally got into this. Now, an IFA done by Viscraft was not challenging because so much relationship between the artists and so on. Base idea should be good, base network should be good, base brand should be good under that. Okay, and then you should understand scale and consumer. Why a person in IP, there are 2 ways to monetize it, 2-3 ways. One is a subscription base, which is ticketing, or like we do something called India Kids Fashion Week at the event capital level, where the kids, the aspiration of a kid to walk the ramp was very big. So we realized and we started taking money from the kids' mothers. Right. And that became a great IP because aspiration to see my kid walking the ramp. Okay. So that is one aspect. Second aspect is, yes, the TG you're talking, the niche you're talking, the what it differentiates from other IPs. I'm saying these are some of the points which an event manager should keep in mind at every time.
Right. Absolutely superb. I think this is such a lot of experience and such a lot of knowledge that you have shared. I'm certain a lot of event guys are going to benefit out of this entire talk. Thank you so much, Deepak, for being with us today, and wishing you all the very best and success for everything that you're planning in the future and in Dubai. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erwin.
Thank you, Arvind, and thank you so much, Deepak, for such wonderful words. With this, we come to an end of day two of Espousal International 2022.